I do a lot of things that are extremely out of the box. But I guess I'm here to share another way of looking at motherhood. So when I first got married, we were going to have 4 children, and that was our plan. And that's what alpha females do. We have plans, and so we thought we're going to have 4 children. I quickly went to a retreat that I didn't know anything about. There was a lady that was speaking, and she basically shared with us just the idea of trusting God with your womb, trusting God with the size of your family. And I thought, okay, that's not a plan. That's crazy, right? And so because of that, I came home and shared with my husband, and he's like, I was hoping you would say that. And so at that moment, we kind of made a decision to just leave our family size up to God, which doesn't necessarily mean 11 children, right? It could mean 1. I was at a birth that we were photographing, a lady named Joyelle Callahan, her husband's orthodontist, and she was delivering her 7th baby. She knew ahead of time that this baby wasn't going to make it, and so it was a really tough birth. The baby lived for, I think, a few minutes. But at the birth, Joyelle says to me, Allison, I trusted God with the size of my womb and the size of my family. This wasn't part of the plan. I thought it was more of an addition thing, multiplication thing, not a subtraction thing. And that really hit me. I realized that when I tell people, oh, you have 11 children, it's not a numbers game. It's a trust thing. We just trusted, and that just is where we ended up, But I'm definitely thankful. I just turned 50, so I'm not quite sure if I'm done, but super sad to be done. But yet also, I love the pattern that we've got. I've got my 5-year-old, and then right behind her is my 3-year-old grandbaby, and then 2-year-old grandbaby, and then 1-year-old. So anyway, it's neat. But anyway, my heart, or I guess what God kind of put on my heart to talk to you guys about is maybe seeming to be radical. You guys look kind of normal. So if I share some radical views, forgive me. My husband always says ideas have consequences. And so my hope is that maybe you'll be inspired or encouraged to think beyond what's going on in culture. And you're not, when I say normal, it doesn't mean you're with culture. Because you obviously aren't. You're not out there working a 40-hour work week. You're at home with your children. So that right there is a huge plus. But beyond that, so we photograph 40,000 kids a year, from every private school just about to about 2/3 of Santa Rosa County and about a half of Escambia County. So I would say we're kind of an expert in what's out there, what children are looking like. And so we're seeing the fruit of homeschoolers, we're seeing the fruit of public schoolers, and we're seeing the fruit of private schoolers. And I will say, I don't see much of a difference, okay? I'm not seeing a whole lot of difference. Like, there's nothing I'm going to say worse about public schoolers versus homeschoolers. The difference that I'm finding, whenever I meet someone, and how many of you guys have, like, children, like, of the marrying age? Any of you guys? Okay, a couple of us in the same category. So when you get to that age, you kind of look at things differently. And I think one of the blessings of having a larger family is I'm able to kind of see it at the end when it's not too late. So I still have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, but yet I have a 27-year-old and a 22-year-old. So but I'm able to see what worked and what didn't. And so then I can go back and be like, okay, I'm going to do this right. Ironically, some of the things that I stressed about when my kids were little, I could care less about now. And it might shock you, one of those is school. I do not care. I say I don't care. I obviously do school with my children. I want them to read. I want them to be able to, make it look like they're educated. But I really don't care. I don't care about what our government says they need to be learning. I care that when they're 25, 27, they have a solid marriage, they have a solid family, they still have a friendship and relationship with me. It's almost mind-boggling, and I don't say this braggadocious. I say it with humility because it can change like that. But we have a home church, and we love all the families that come. Nara comes, several families come, but the families that come that I probably care the most about are my older children. My 3 married girls all come, and we don't force them to. They just come, and we kind of look at each other like, why are they still coming? I mean, they have freedom. They can go wherever they want. And so I was going to kind of give you a little tip of maybe why I think they might still be coming. And so 1 Peter 5:8 says, be alert and be of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking to whom he may devour. What does that have to do with motherhood? It has everything to do with motherhood. Not to over spiritualize it, but Satan is after our children. They're after your husbands. They're after your marriage. They're after your families. And I can promise you, if you continue, if we do what the world is doing, we're going to lose it all. We're going to lose our marriages. If the stats are correct, and 93% of men are currently looking at pornography, then that means that most of us in this room it's going to affect our lives. Or it is affecting our lives. That's a serious big deal. That also means that how many of you guys have sons? Okay, that's most of us. I have 5, and then I have 3 son-in-laws. It's not only going to affect us, but it is affecting us. I always think, man, I'm a great mom. I'm pretty vigilant. I pay attention. We have 0 smart devices for my children, even my 19-year-old and under. My 19-year-old and 17-year-old have flip phones. I am their GPS, which is really annoying. They call me all the time, hey, I'm headed to a fitness job, because they all have jobs, they all own businesses, but I'm their GPS. And I know you might be like, that's a little ridiculous. Well, is it? Is it? So what are your options? You've got iPhones, which is access to everything. And then you have a dumb phone, which you basically can't do anything on. And I haven't found that in between yet. If you find it, please let me know. We have these cool rapid radios, but it's more of a walkie-talkie. But the reason I'm so serious with it is because that subject has affected our home. When I thought everything was great, when I thought we were so diligent, do you know what we did? We went and got our kids, what are they called, Chromebooks, and we did a Becca video school on. Sounds super, right? Like, would any of you even question me? Be warned, Allison, you may not let your children have Chromebooks. No, all of us would say that's pretty safe. You're just looking at a Becca video, you're doing your school. Well, that Chromebook is connected to what? Right, which has 0 desire for your family to stay pure, to stay righteous, to stay whole. 0. In fact, its purpose is to destroy you. My 19-year-old has a new fencing business, and so I started a Facebook page for him because he's not on social media. And I didn't realize it until I went to his page one night to check a message, and I thought, my word, I don't know about y'all, but my Facebook page is pretty pure, pretty clean. Every now and then, some friend will post stuff with, stuff hanging out, and I'm just like, whoo, I didn't need to see that. But it's somebody I know. It's not like, Facebook's targeting me. His Facebook page was full of pornography. I couldn't believe it, and I thought, man, it's like somebody like AI might know who he is, know he's 19, know he's single, know he's a boy. I'm not trying to conspiracy theorize it. I think it's actually factual that they know who we are. But my point is that even with that Chromebook that I thought we were so safe on, I lost one of my children's purity and his heart because of being able to see. It was just simple. It was innocent. It was fishing videos on YouTube. But guess what, guys? All those fishing videos are just they're 3 clicks away to destroying your what you see. And you can't unsee that. And I don't say that so you can feel sorry for me. I say that to warn you. Like, I felt like I was doing a good job. I don't let my kids play video games. I don't let my kids in their rooms with their phones. That's not us. He was in his room doing school. And so I told my husband that day, I said, what are the bad parents doing? I mean, can you imagine the bad parents that let their children do anything and let them hang out with, the bad kids? I can't even imagine. And so I thought, if our children are being touched by this, then other moms are too, and they just may not even realize it. And you might just say, I got it. I see what's going on. But what I want to encourage you is be diligent. So it's not just that, okay, the enemy's going to devour us like a roaring lion. No, it actually says be alert and be sober. So that means actually do something about it. So what do I recommend? When I asked Nara, what's your theme that you would like me to talk about? Because I could go on about raising entrepreneurs, homeschooling a very unique way. But she said, talk to them about how to keep your children's hearts. Whenever I meet a family, especially a Christian family, and I say that in quotes for a reason, but they've been raising their children in church, or they've been homeschooling, or they've just been, doing Sunday school according to the world. They've been doing it right? And then they all of a sudden say, yeah, I have 5 children, and my oldest has fallen away. How many of you guys have heard this same scenario? I did a really good job. I thought I was doing great, and all of a sudden my 18-year-old, they're gone. None of y'all? I hear it all the time. And I'm just like, my mouth's on the ground. I'm like, why? How is that possible? I don't get it. And I always take advantage of the question, or asking the mom, do you mind me asking you, where do you think you went wrong? Where, if you could pinpoint one thing, where would it be? And I would say the 2 most common things that people tell me are, number 1, this thing. And then number 2, it's who they hang around. Probably one of my most favorite verses about this is in Proverbs, when it says, whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools, what? Y'all know? The companion of fools will be destroyed. And that doesn't go for just our children. That goes for you all. So Nara, if you have a group meeting, a mom's group, and this group over here, you guys are just praising and uplifting your husband. Well, guess what? All the other moms around you are going to probably feel led to do the same. And then over here, I'll make y'all the bad ones. Over here, you're just like, you just decide, I want to bash my husband, right? It's a pretty popular topic at, barbershops and moms groups. And so you just cannot believe what he does, Well, guess what? Not many people are probably going to chime in bragging on theirs. And so the same principle applies to our children. When we're having them around people that are constantly slamming their parents, coming up with things that are about rebellion, I want to sneak out. I mean, this was my life. This was my life growing up. But that isn't something I want for my children. And so how do we do it? Well, we personally are very intentional who we let our children hang around. We have a home church. We open it up to everybody. I mean, we get everybody. But we're so careful still. We don't let people back in our bedrooms. We don't let our children just go wander off where I'm not knowing what's going on. Thankfully, there's nobody that comes to our home church that I'm concerned about. But I promise you, if I was, I would be, I'd be watching it super carefully. But even more than that, we don't do spend the nights. We don't do, we don't do youth group. I know y'all are like, this lady's getting weirder and weirder. But I see the fruit of youth group. I see the fruit of hanging around, the blind leading the blind. Do my children have friends? Yes. But typically, we're the family, we're the house that they're coming to. So we're just super deliberate with our children's peers. I don't let them get jobs outside of our home business unless it was like a friend's business. I don't want, I talked to a mom this past weekend. She said, yeah, I let my child work at Chick-fil-A. I mean, what could go wrong? It's God's chicken, right? Her kid was smoking pot within the first few weeks. Why? Well, because people that work at Chick-fil-A, those children are not necessarily, you know, they haven't been raised possibly the same way you're wanting to raise your children. So anyway, I'm just going to quickly go through things that our family values that I feel like because of it, we've gotten some good fruit. Families that play together stay together. We've heard this phrase in other words, but I really believe this one. We're kind of known as the family that all they do is work, but that's not completely true. We do a lot of playing, and when we play, we always play together. So whether it's taking the boat out or going on vacation, we always do it together. My husband's very serious when it comes to doing family meals. So we eat out a lot, but we almost never eat out alone. So we don't just say, farm our children out. Hey, you go to so-and-so's house, or yeah, fine, go to their. We value family dinner time, whether it's traditional looking, which it's not, or if it's out to dinner at Texas Roadhouse, we really try to do it together. With them getting bigger, it's not as cost effective to go out all the time, but we do value staying together. Be a family of unity. Ask yourself this question. If you were to remember anything I said today, this would be a good one. If you're wanting unity in your family, then when you go to do something, ask yourself this question. Is what we're about to do going to fragment or unify my family? And if you can ask yourself that question before you put your kid in t-ball, then you'll know whether that's a good idea. And I'm not anti-sports. We're a huge volleyball family. But man, let me tell you, we had to really be careful not to put our child on every other team in town. Because all it does is fragment you. All you're going to become is that soccer taxi, and by the end of the day, you're not going to know where any of your children have been all day. And not to mention, you have no idea the conversations they've had. Be a team. We have team meetings every morning. So I sit down with my family as a team. And I say, all right, this is what we got going today. Already today, we were already shooting 2 schools. We've been at Marcus Point. My husband's at Brown Barge Middle School right now. So I have teams going out, but all those team players are my children, right? So I'm figuring out who's going where, which girls babysitting the grandbaby. We've got to make a plan. I need all these chores done, and I need them done at this time. I don't say this to shock you, but it might. I do no house chores. I don't do laundry. I don't cook. I have raised them from the age of little to know how to do all the things to manage a home. You know, that should relieve you to say to you, you do not have to be doing it all. In fact, not only do you not have to be doing it all, you're hurting your children by doing it all for them. There's nothing better than knowing I could walk away, and I did last week, and we went to Tennessee to get injections, and I left everybody with my 17-year-old, and everything ran smoothly. My house was clean when I got home, because that's all they're expected to do. They know how to cook, they know how to clean, and they do it. One phrase that I'm kind of known for saying is, only do what only you can do. Okay, I'll say it again. Only do what only you can do. So there's not a lot, that list is very short if you think about it. There's not a whole lot that only you can do. I can only nurse my baby. That's what I'm going to do. I can only be that mother's arms that's going to love on them when they're hurt, and I do. Thankfully, I've got lots of siblings that will too. But there's nothing, Now, and I'll say a caveat, if you love it, then do it. Okay? So if you're like, I like to cook, does that mean I don't have to cook or shouldn't cook? No, it means cook. But only do what only you can do or only what you want to do. Let your children make mistakes. Don't micromanage them. And what does this have to do with keeping your heart? Everything. Everything. I don't micromanage my children. I'm not a control freak. When we discuss things, I literally ask all my children, hey, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? What do you think? What do y'all want to do? What's priority? What do you think we should do in this scenario? Are there times Daniel and I have to okay, we got to make a decision? Yes. But for the most part, especially my married daughters, I never want to make them feel like I don't value them and, I boss them around. I want their advice. Lead by example. If you're lazy, I tell you, your child will be too. And so that may seem contradictory. Well, how is that possible? They're seeing you not doing any housework. Well, first of all, they've watched me do it when they were younger. But now they're seeing me do other kinds of work. Like, I don't want them on social media advertising for my business. So they see me doing those things. They see me working hard, trying to advertise for their businesses and make flyers for them. Anyway, a kind of an Allison Hartman phrase is raise adults, not children. At the end of the day, some of yours are real little and you're probably like, well, right now I'm just raising babies and changing diapers. Well, you're going to blink and you're going to be in this situation where you're sort of marrying age and you're going to be like, all I've done is baby them. All I did was micromanage. All I did was, oh, honey, let me open that for you. I'll hand my 11-year-old a phone and say, call customer service and do this. Why not? Why couldn't she make a phone call? So when she's an adult, that's going to be second nature to her. Be a professional delegator. Treat children like they're adults. We're raising producers, not consumers. And then one of my biggest takeaway that I really would love you to learn is let your ceiling of you and your husband's ceiling be your children's floor. So what I mean by that is when your children get started, let it just be the beginning of where you left off. So you want to, and it's a fine line between enabling and giving them too much and setting them up for success. But highly, highly recommend you kind of get that balance and try to figure out how can we, enable them or have them do good things, but not giving them everything, if that makes sense. I think we're losing just far too many children to our world. Christian families, they're raising them, they're doing it right, and then all of a sudden they look around. The stats are that 2/3 of children, once they graduate high school, never walk into a church again. So why is that? And I think the good or bad news, however you want to look at it, is it's all about us. It's not about your pastor failing them or your youth pastor failing them or their school teacher. It's we're super non-traditional, but at midnight last night, we're all trying to go to bed, and my husband stopped everything and said, everybody meet at the dining room table. We're doing family devotions. We do them every day, whether they want to or not, and it may be midnight. But because he prioritizes family devotions, our family has this unity that no one can break. Can I lose one of my children's? Yeah, I'm sure I could. But my goal in life is not to be the biggest photographer in this town. It is not to, be able to have the biggest house church. In fact, our goal is to have a small house church because you can really get to know people. My goal in life is at the end of the day, I keep my children's hearts. And there's no way, there's just nothing, there's just nothing more important than that, in my opinion. A concept that I want to share with you, and Neri, you just tell me I'm done, is a concept called pioneer parenting. So several years ago, I was on the phone with this good friend of ours. He's an attorney up in Atlanta, and he has 10 children, and he and I were kind of like throwing ideas like back and forth, and I'm like, yeah, doesn't it ever feel like you're the only one? You're the only one in your community that's not letting your children, go to prom or go to have iPhones or do this or do that. And anyway, we were so talking about it, and then these words kind of came out of our mouths together, and I said, yeah, it's kind of like we're pioneers. And he's like, yeah, it's like pioneer parenting. And so that phrase got coined that day, and I want to kind of cast that vision on you guys. And again, I don't know all of you, and I don't know where you're at in life. But if you're kind of like following the world's path, right? So what is most of your neighborhood doing? Well, most of them probably are going to church if they live in Santa Rosa County, right? They're sending their kids to Sunday school. They're sending them to VBS in the summer, which nothing's saying anything wrong about that. I love VBS. I send my kids to that. They're then putting them in school, and then they send them off to college, right? And that's just kind of the plan. That's kind of the keep up with the Joneses thing. And so I guess I want to say, think outside of that. Just because that's what everybody else is doing doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. But for me, my goal is to, I want to raise world changers. I want to raise adults. I want to raise people that can think for themselves. I want to raise those that have a desire to have complete purity in their dating relationships, to where they can get to the altar saving their first kiss for their wedding. That's craziness. Who does that? Well, we did it 3 times with our girls, so it's possible. But I think one of the best things that we've done is surround ourselves with like-minded families that are also doing it that way. And just like our kids, they're only going to do what they see their friends doing. You're the same way. So if you're surrounding yourselves with families that are also encouraging, late night TV, just veg out on TV, or be on your phones all day long, or you're bashing your husband with your friend. You get the picture. It's probably not the most healthy thing for your family if that's your end goal. I would highly recommend finding, and that is a challenge. In fact, it's so much of a challenge that we that retreat that I told y'all about, that I went to 28 years ago, I now lead that retreat in Panama City, and it's probably the biggest family camp in this country. But in Panama City, 3 times a year, we do a family camp, and we have speakers that come in, and there's about 1,000 people that come. And it's some big families, some small families. Eric Hoven's coming this year to speak about creation. But it's meeting other like-minded families that you can do life with. And so anyway, I feel like I went all over the place, but I hope you hear my heart. My goal is not for you to think, man, she's got it all together, because it's actually the opposite. I wasn't raised like this at all. We're kind of figuring this out as we go along. It's like I tell my first son-in-law, I'm like, I basically made all the mistakes on you and McKenna, and then now by the time I get to the end, maybe I'll have it down pat. But wise people learn from other people's mistakes. So I want to encourage you, if you're feeling like you're on that path, find new friends. Start thinking differently. You don't have to stay on that same path. So do you want me to look at some? Was there any in particular questions?